My name's Keone, co-founder of Monad. Good to be here. At Monad, we're super excited about helping to grow the Indian crypto ecosystem. I think that there's incredible potential. There's so many amazing projects that have come out of India, and I really see the region and the folks here individually who are building amazing things as being really crucial to the growth of crypto overall. So really happy to be here and looking forward to spending a lot more time here in the future.
Yeah, thank you. Because what happens on these chats is that everyone starts staring at their phone, and some people go to sleep, so I'll try and make it a little bit more interesting with your permission.
Yeah, we got to wake them up.
So I have a question for you. Why do we need Monad when we already have Ethereum and all these L2s and rollups? So what gap does Monad fill in the market?
Yeah, great question. I really like to describe Monad as a technology project that's bringing several new technologies to the Ethereum space in general. And I think that these technologies are really needed because not only are they orthogonal, like they stack on top of each other and enable much higher throughput at the base layer, but also we just need to see these proven out in a production environment with real money at stake and with, as you know, every plan is only battle tested when it's actually in battle. So in particular, Monad is introducing a completely new database called MonadDB, which is fully built from scratch for the problem of storing Ethereum Merkle tree data, making it really efficient and utilizing SSDs really efficiently. Additionally, optimistic parallel execution, asynchronous execution, and Monad BFT, which is a really performant consensus method.
So here is an interesting one, right? So we have had this meme about parallelized EVM, and I used to joke about parallelized EVM. So it's not just a parallelized EVM, right? There's a lot more going on under the covers.
Yeah, that's right.
At every layer of the stack. So what inspired you to go after something this complicated and kind of almost like rebuild Ethereum from scratch, more or less?
Yeah, I think that Ethereum is incredibly powerful. The vision of the world computer has really motivated a lot of innovators to build amazing dApps. And the EVM bytecode standard is super powerful. It's really the canonical standard for developing smart contracts. Over 90% of all TVL on chain. It's incredibly powerful to have this common standard, but we need the standard to be more performant. So as you were saying, parallel execution is one piece of the puzzle in terms of unlocking more performance from the system. But actually, if you don't have a performant data layer, like a performant database below that parallel execution stack, then you kind of get caught up on the actual state access. That was why the database needed to get added as well.
So that's an interesting one because Solana have done a lot of innovation in the fast performant chain space, and some of the core Monad team and community also kind of span both Ethereum and Solana ecosystems. Now the EVM wasn't built for parallel execution, so you brought in more optimistic concurrency and sort of other things. But isn't there a fundamental limit? Because if you look at Solana's architecture, they just started by saying, look, we will have no Merkle root, right? So we will essentially just discard that. Then they added it later because there were so many problems, and they said, okay, per epoch, we want to have a partial Merkle tree. So now you are going to be faster and cheaper than Ethereum layer 1, but you're probably going to be slightly more expensive than some of the centralized sequencer, upgradable multisig type of highly centralized L2s. And I'm just guessing. And then you have Solana, which is going at the far end of Firedancer and some of the other things. So how do you position yourself in this space of centralized fast rollups and an increasingly decentralized Firedancer type of architecture?
Yeah, I have two comments. So the first one is that at the end of the day, the reason why I'm here, why I'm in this space, why I think a lot of people are in this space is because we do value decentralization.
Absolutely.
and technology is there to enable decentralization.
100%.
What we need is better technology or new technology that can enable a really high degree of decentralization while also getting high performance.
I mean, so why is decentralization so important if all we want to do is trade memes, you know?
Right. I think decentralization is important from the perspective of having a credibly neutral layer where anyone can build an app and know that they always have sort of anyone has open access to interact with that app.
Yeah.
In addition, I think it's the open source standard is extremely important in crypto. The fact that we have an open standard like the EVM, which means that many blockchains are all building to support that same standard. That's super important for avoiding extractive taxes on businesses.
Yeah.
So if you think about like the way that I like to describe crypto to people that are new to that are very like software engineers but new to crypto is that it's basically a system that has a built-in payment rails.
Yeah.
So think of it like Visa or MasterCard or PayPal. That has an open programmable standard that anyone can code against, that has very low transaction fees, so avoiding that 3% or more tax that traditional payment systems require.
Yeah.
And because of this common standard, there's many different choices for where to build to redeploy your app without getting locked into one particular ecosystem, which is where those extractive 3% type taxes would start to arise.
Right. So one of my favorite things about Monad, so I've been very fortunate to work with founders or be associated with founders who kind of think very long term, and you're one of them, right? So you've not kind of rushed to the token. You've kind of built very systematically. You've taken on a much more complex task than I don't know. Maybe you intended in the beginning, but it's just you've worked on every layer. And you've started to build a fantastic community, right? So it's kind of like doing things the right way and building for the very long term, which I truly admire. So Monad community, what defines Monad community? What makes someone, what makes people so excited to be part of the Monad community?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. The Monad community has sort of a common love for crypto.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to realize when, for anyone who's a founder or a builder in the space, that building community is all about providing value to the community.
Yeah, so what does that value look like? I mean, is it just airdrops or is there more going on there?
There's actually a lot of really amazing posts on Twitter from community members talking about why they've gotten involved and why they've gotten more and more involved over time.
Yeah.
What it really comes down to is opportunities, relationships, friendships. A lot of folks that are in the Monad community have made a ton of friends initially online and then have gone to meetups around the world and gotten to meet their friends that they're hanging out with all the time in real life, which is actually super cool. But I think at the end of the day, our mindset as the Monad team is just to help cultivate a community that gives value to its users rather than trying to farm its users.
I agree. I think this reminds me of the early days of Ethereum, right? So I've been in the Ethereum space since 2014-15, and it's always been fun. You kind of find people who are like you, people who actually care about it a little bit more than money, people who want to build cool and interesting things and just have fun together, right? So there is just so much going on, and I think it's quite amazing that you managed to build all that without a token. So how can our India crypto community join the Monad community? How can young people be part of, or other people, young people, I guess?
Yeah, I think the point you made about long-term building is also very true with the community.
Yeah.
So it's, I think participation in the community is not about chasing financial rewards.
Yeah.
It's really about getting more opportunities to grow as a person, getting an audience for amazing creative ability.
Yeah.
We have amazing artists in the Monad community. There's really fun memes.
True.
There's so much lore.
Yeah, you guys make a lot of good jokes also, which is kind of something I really enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all built by the community. So I think it's really just people who are playing long-term games. Same as what you said.
Yeah.
It's not just like people who are like writing code that are building that are playing long-term games.
Yep.
It's also people who care a lot about crypto. One other thing I want to mention is that, you know, like when I first got started in crypto, I was scrolling crypto Twitter all the time.
I'm still doing it.
Yep, still doing it. And I think when you're starting out, like you don't know anyone. You're not like a famous person on Twitter.
That's
It's
right.
more fun to go with other people. So I think that's another aspect.
Yeah. So I have two very pointed questions. When testnet? When public testnet?
We expect public testnet quite soon. Expect like very early next year.
This year? Early next year?
Very early next year.
What about mainnet? When mainnet?
We'll see, but our team is hard at work, and this is a long time coming. There's a ton of work that's gone into building all aspects of the stack.
And also one of the things that I found really interesting about building Monad, I mean, you guys building Monad is how you test, right? So you've tested the whole network with the entire history of Ethereum transactions a few times.
Right.
What's with that? Why make it so hard for yourself?
There's a number of different tests. One of the really strong test suites is running the entire history of Ethereum from Genesis and ensuring that the Monad system always arrives at the same Merkle root as Ethereum. I mean, there are some very cool properties of blockchain, and I think a big one is that Merkleization is a way of committing to all of the state. So it's actually a very nice backtest. But in addition to that, there's a number of other tests that, because at the end of the day, these are production systems that have
critical infrastructure.
Highly adversarial situations.
I love this because this is kind of like how we thought about blockchains or still think about blockchains in the Ethereum community, right? Even now in Solana, increasingly, as the system becomes more mature, I think more and more blockchains as they come online kind of start to think of themselves as critical infrastructure, and the same kind of principles and practices that you use for building market infrastructure start to come into blockchains. And so it's quite amazing that you guys kind of are doing that right from the beginning, even before launch, to sort of build that sort of culture. Now, apps, right? Now we are fortunately in a meta where people want apps, even if those are casino apps, fun apps, toy apps. People are more and more looking for apps, and that's a fantastic time in the history of our industry, right? So what apps are you most excited about on Monad, and what gaps do you see in terms of the apps that you would like our developers to contribute going forward?
Right. Well, yeah. First of all, I think the reason why there's more focus on apps is because at the end of the day, the sustainability of the entire crypto space is predicated on growth of sustainable businesses with cash flows. So, and we've seen a couple of really significant examples of powerful apps that have gotten incredible amounts of revenue pumped up on. More recently, Hyperliquid with their launch. So I think a couple of categories that I'm quite excited about, just to mention briefly, high fidelity DeFi. So enabling fully on-chain trading, taking advantage of the composability that comes from having all the apps exist in one shared global state with full decentralization. I'm excited about the consumer space and more generally the fact that any app that is trying to be number one in the iOS App Store, that means hundreds of thousands or millions of DAUs. And fundamentally, that's just going to require a lot of transaction throughput.
Yeah, and your Discord is a lot of fun. So I sometimes hang out in that Discord, and it's a lot of fun. What makes Monad so much fun? I mean, where does that fun vibe come from? Because you're pretty serious people, right? I know you, I know James, you guys are both, and Eunice, you guys are all really serious people. How do you guys make it so much fun? What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's inherited from the spirit of crypto more generally. The thing that makes crypto really special is the fact that we don't take ourselves too seriously.
That's right.
Whenever I am introducing a new person to crypto Twitter, I tell them the first account they should follow is Inverse Bra, just because you get so much of the lore from following his, chronicling. Anyway, point is, it's driven by the community. Community is incredibly creative, incredibly fun.
Just hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, India, right? So I'm as much of a sort of somebody who lives abroad as you now for the last several years. But I'm very grateful to have very deep connections and being born here and being very imbibed in the culture. So what sort of developer community have you seen in India? What sort, which founders would you point at that are building on Monad today?
Yeah.
You came all the way, so you must have seen something.
Absolutely. I think one great example of an early stage project in the Monad ecosystem in India is Kuru.
Yeah.
So it's a team of 7 people, all based here in Bangalore, that are building a fully on-chain order book for Spot.
Wow.
With a number of other features that they're working on to build a full suite of
that sounds like Alpha
trading
League.
experience.
Yep.
Yeah, they're great. Just more generally, I think that it's really important to have that in-person presence, and I think that Bangalore is an amazing city that is really fostering a lot of great teams.
Absolutely. Now, so have you tried any of the local food?
Not yet, actually.
Not yet.
Yeah, I got here.
You got to fix that. I mean, yeah, just I wouldn't go around the street drink water unless it's bottled.
Okay.
But you should definitely try some of the South Indian food. We run a dosa dao at Hadron, and that works pretty well. So a couple more questions. India is a very young country. Right, and India, most of the founders we find here, at least from Hadron and Polygon perspective, are very like tech first, product first. And some of the things that I think we find a bit more challenging are like marketing and distribution, right? So you find a lot of deep tech founders, but you don't find as much hype. So except for Polygon, I have not seen a lot of India-based projects that have created the kind of buzz and hype as so. Now Monad has that, right? Monad has a fantastic brand. You have capital, you have community. So you have this global, good vibes, amazing community that doesn't care where you're from, what you do, but it's just amazing to hang out in that Discord.
Right.
So how can the founders from here take advantage of the global talent pool that Monad has in the community, and then also collaborate with people elsewhere to bring that missing component of global attention, hype, and riz on top of the phenomenal technical talent we have here?
Right. Yeah, I think that there are sort of 3 main things that founders need. The first is basically getting support from learning how to be really successful entrepreneurs. I think that the Silicon Valley culture and Y Combinator have there's a lot of amazing resources and so on, but I want to see that grow in India as well. The second one is getting access to supportive communities that I always say that the community is really what has propelled Monad to where it is. And I feel that even a couple of really passionate community members can make an incredible difference in the success of a project, and that's just through the moral support and
it's just so good,
encouragement.
Right? Yeah, I mean that's something I've seen with the Ethereum community. Initially it was just Martin Koppelman and a few other people just posting on Stack Overflow, and then everybody kind of picked up from there. And then as a result, later on we got Hayden and Stani and absolute legends, right? Rune and so on. And then with Solana, we saw early days, these founders come through, and one of them becomes Buffalo, and so I'm starting to see the same sort of process happen in Monad. So my advice would be to hang out on Monad's Discord, right? And look to hire from there. There are so many quality, talented people who have different skills than people that here, and that sort of matchmaking can be very, very powerful. What other ways are there to get involved more with Monad? And
So I think the thing that I was trying to describe was 3 major things. The first thing is learning how to getting access to a network of successful founders. And basically be entrepreneurial supercharging. The second one is support of community members.
Yeah.
And the third is access to capital. And
yeah.
so with Monad, we're focused on sort of helping with all three of those areas.
Yeah, I've seen your demo days and
yep.
Yeah, the Monad Madness. It's
Monad,
really good,
yeah.
good kind of madness. My favorite kind of madness.
Yep.
Right.
So Monad Madness is a pitch competition
Yeah.
That showcases amazing projects, puts them on the biggest stage,
Yeah.
and puts them in front of some of the greatest investors in the space.
Amazing.
But yeah, to your point about getting involved, the Indian ads community is super.
Yeah, it makes some really nice. I love the artwork.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, for anyone who's interested in either building on Monad or interested in getting involved in the community,
Yeah.
you could feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, send me a DM, and I can point you in the right direction. Because at the end of the day, I think our goal is to create opportunities for people, placing community members in projects, as well as helping projects to hire great people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing about Ethereum, right? So Ethereum has been, for me, Ethereum has been my biggest resource, right? And it's not the tech, it's the people.
Right.
So it's getting to know, all the way from Joe and Vitalik to everyone else. That's what gives me a strong sense of security. So that community is incredibly powerful, and I'm really a big fan of what you're building there with the community. Any questions from the audience?
So the Monad is a very well-resourced project. I think we're really privileged to have the support of a lot of VC backers and incredibly supportive community. I feel very privileged to be on this stage today, talking to everyone here. I'm just curious what you think Monad can best do for the Indian crypto community.
Yeah. So, thank you for putting that on me. So, as I said, right, I think we get a lot of quality engineers, and most people come from engineering and product backgrounds, but people tend to be less, tuned to, let's say, branding, hype, building a buzz, that social media marketing, those types of things. And within Monad community, I see incredible talent for all of that, right? So what I advise founders is to essentially recruit from that community, find co-founders and whatever. But I think it would be great to see what you guys can build to make that. In India, we are big fans of arranged marriage.
Yeah.
Still, I had one and it's worked out very, very, very well. So I don't know if there is a way to do more arranged, co-founder things or arranged recruiting.
Yeah.
To see talent gaps in some of the startups and
that's we actually have placed over 30 community members in projects.
Yeah.
So we actually do have that exact
amazing. We love arranged stuff.
marriage.
I think the young people don't like it as much, but yeah.
Now we know what to call it.
Great. And what should people be looking to build that you're not seeing in the Monad ecosystem today? Where think of what is the most exciting, wild, creative, left field thing you are seeing elsewhere, maybe in Solana or ETH or whatever that you want us to think about building on Monad?
I think maybe more support for small businesses.
Okay.
I think that every great startup comes from a perspective of problem solving.
That's true.
And like when you're a small business, there's like a zillion problems to solve. And some of them are tied to payments, like receiving payments efficiently. So I think that the fact that there's built-in payments within crypto is definitely like a clear area of synergy. I think that, helping to take advantage of some of the trends of globalization and bringing together different labor pools, I think is another area that's interesting. I think that at the end of the day, crypto is about a shared global state that enables better coordination. I would argue that open standards have the potential to create Schelling points where they otherwise wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Let me elaborate on that.
You sound like one of us Ethereum guys from the past.
Yeah. Let me explain that a little bit better. So my thought is basically if you're you're building some new marketplace.
Right.
but you're building it, and it's a tiny market right now. The problem is like getting people to actually invest their time to like building out like, you know, a reputation within that market, which will disappear if the website disappears.
Yeah.
So I think that there's actually significant power in open standards where as a marketplace, you sort of like record all of the attributes of the buyers and sellers on chain in an open standard, so that then that creates a Schelling point for people to trust. Okay, I could build up my reputation. Just maybe to make it more concrete. Sorry. Imagine eBay. Like eBay, the way it got off the ground back in the old days was that like sellers knew that if they went there, they could sell their goods, but also they could build up a reputation so that then people would trust them and be willing to buy from them. And bootstrapping that reputation system is super hard. I think that it's actually easier to do in a situation where there's an open standard where the marketplace is pushing like transaction data, reputation data down to a base layer that's more credibly neutral. So
amazing.
I think that would be, it's a very like intellectual answer to your question.
No, it's Vinay Gupta, used to run strategy for Ethereum Foundation early in the days, and he's written a bunch of articles. It's one of the hardest problems in crypto, but it's totally worth solving. I do have a DGen score. I have an on-chain credit score. I mean, some of these things will pick up eventually. But here is, so now more concretely, how can the developers, founders in the ecosystem approach you, Sangmo, some of the other senior Monad team members, and how are you guys going to do any events later this week where people can come meet you and learn from you?
Yes. I think, we're having a community meetup tonight.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's one possible thing. But just more generally, anyone here should feel free to DM me. My Twitter handle is Keone HD.
Okay.
And then I can answer your question directly or point you in the right direction.
So first of all, I think we're coming to a close, but thank you so much for, first of all, making the trip. And I'm so excited to see you here. My biggest advice to everyone here is to hang out on Monad's Discord and Telegram. Telegram is a bit fun, but Discord is much more sort of creative, fun, and you get to meet a lot of interesting people. And I think it's a great way to find people who are like you. It's a great way to find, potential opportunities to build things, maybe even jobs, whatever else. So Monad's community is one of the favorite things going on, one of my favorite things going on in blockchain. I mean, the technology is coming through very nicely. I'm sure we'll see that with the testnet. But, and while Keone and Sangmo are here, please take the opportunity to meet these guys. I'm obviously a Monad investor and a big fan, so I'm going to shill them very, very hard. But definitely please hang out in the Monad Discord and, let's build some great things together. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Keone.
Yeah,
always
thank
a pleasure
you.
and honor.
Thank you, Monad.
Cheers. Bye.